Today we're going to chat about 3 really big common myths when it comes to healing. And look, I see these all the time and I have been through them myself as well. And that's why I really want to share them with you today, because everything I share can only really come from experience, right? So let's dive right into number 1. And that is when you are healing, that your diet or lifestyle needs to feel restrictive. This is something that has come up so often for me lately. It's pretty interesting how these themes kind of show up either in like email or DMs that I get. But it's basically been along the lines of, hey, Kristen, when you were healing your gut, was your diet super restrictive? Or how long did you have to restrict your diet? And the problem with this is, and what I learned from experience is, true healing can't happen when it feels restrictive. And kind of how I experienced this in my own life, when I was way back when, it would have been in 2013, changed my diet to paleo. Had no clue what I was doing back then, just kind of figuring it out as I went along. But as I started to notice such a huge difference in my health, I fully started to realize that in order for it to be sustainable, in order for this lifestyle to work, in order for me to truly heal, I could not feel like I was on some sort of restrictive diet. And so what I had to do was get really creative. And it's part of the reason why I started creating recipes back then, because I really wanted to get creative with the food that I was eating, have fun in the kitchen. So it really comes down to a perspective shift. I never once felt restricted when I was eating paleo. I had a ton of fun with it, ate a large variety of foods. And again, it's not how I eat these days, because that wasn't meant to be forever. But even back when I was doing it, it wasn't restrictive. And that's my hope for you as well, that whatever you're doing never feels restrictive. Which takes me to myth number 2. And that is, once you start on this path to healing, that it's just gonna be a smooth, straight line there. And I think most people know when you kind of take a step back that that's not the case, regardless of what kind of success you're looking for. It is a bumpy, curvy mountain and hills, and that has certainly been the case for me. And it's important to understand this, because when you run into those seemingly, roadblocks, or when you feel like, oh my gosh, this mountain to climb feels so huge, you just gotta know it's all part of the journey. Even after, I healed my gut and I'd done so much work on my health, there were a couple times where I even ended up in the hospital because my intestine had twisted around in itself. And that was about as fun as it sounds. And the thing is, and what I really want to share with you today, is that when you have those setbacks, when things happen, it's okay. It's just part of the process. It's no big deal, right? And the coolest thing that I found is the more my body healed, the more resilient I became. So even though, say, I'd end up in the hospital for a couple of days, my body would bounce back really quickly when it didn't used to do that. When I used to be taken down back when I was super sick, I would stay down. That's not the case anymore. So even though it is pretty likely that you're gonna hit some setbacks, some roadblocks, some really steep mountains to climb, just know that the more you continue on, the more you get set back and you get back up and you keep going, the more resilient you're gonna become. And that, my friend, is everything. And finally, for myth number 3, this one is a huge one. And it is, I don't have the time to work on my health. I don't have the time to work on my healing. I hear this all the time, every time we launch the Total Gut Reset. And I understand, because I used to feel the exact same way. I used to think I didn't have the time to work on it. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait for life to slow down and then I'll get to it. This was especially true when I was working on healing my adrenals. I kept waiting for life to slow down. And then it hit me. Life doesn't slow down, right? Unless it forces you to stop, and you don't wanna get there. That's why you wanna start ahead of time. So the thing is, I had to really train my brain to think about it this way. Instead of saying, I don't have the time, instead I would say, well, how much time do I have to feel terrible, right? Because the thing is, you can spend so much time and energy not feeling your best. And again, I really learned this when I healed my gut, when I healed my adrenals. It gave me so much more time freedom back once I did that. But in order to get there, I really had to carve out the time to work on my healing. Because again, the time is rarely just gonna appear, so you have to make that mental shift. Think about things like how much time you're spending on your phone, scrolling your phone each day. You can look at your screen time on your phone. That's a really eye-opening exercise. I know it was for me. But when you realize, okay, if I have 30 minutes a day, I have plenty of time to work on myself. So it's just a little mental perspective there. All right, my friends, if you find, as you're watching this video, listening to it, whatever you're doing, that if you are experiencing one of these myths in your own life, whether you don't have enough time, whether you're feeling like you've got to restrict your diet, whether you feel like healing should be a straight line and it's not, so you're wondering if something is wrong with you or wrong with what you're doing, I just want you to know that I understand and I've totally been there, and that is exactly why I wanted to create this video for you. And I also want to remind you that enrollment for the Total Gut Reset is open right now. So if you want support in your journey where we're going to take out all of the guesswork for you and you're going to get this step-by-step exact process to heal your gut and gain the tools for lifelong health, then you are going to love the Total Gut Reset. Enrollment is open right now, but only for a super limited time. I'm going to put all the details below so you can check that out. And most importantly, I really want you to remember that even when it doesn't feel like it, you've totally got this.